Welcome to Groupthink, a weekly podcast where three regular dudes come together to offer their opinions and argue their cases on a variety of topics, from science fiction to science fact, conspiracy theories to the paranormal, and everything in between. No topic is safe from our petty scrutiny. With me for tonight's broadcast is Ricky the Millipede Carmen and Tommy Swags. What's up, guys?
What up?
What's up? The millipede?
The Millipede.
I don't even know how to begin.
Just popped into my head. I just picture you with like 1,000 legs.
Or really small.
Really small with 1,000 legs.
Oh,
How was your weekend, man? How was your Halloween?
I was okay, but I'm kind of mad at you.
Just okay?
It was okay.
It was more than okay.
For
Oh,
Tom,
the day
it's
before
okay.
Yeah, you had a party.
Not so okay. I'll
Wait,
let you continue.
Yeah,
What happened?
we're all happy, getting ready for the party. Said let's put on Exorcism Live. That's what happened. Yeah, do I need to say more?
No, I take full responsibility for that, and for that I do apologize.
2 hours
Oh,
of
2
nothing.
hours.
Had I known it was just going to be a version of redneck paranormal hunters, I would have definitely never recommended it.
I was so scared. I'm hiding behind
It
the
was
couch with my
bad.
Bible.
It was bad. The tweets were even worse.
The tweets.
The
Oh
made
my
up
God.
tweets. The
Yeah,
made up
no,
tweets.
yeah, you're right. I guarantee those tweets were sent in by the crew or
I'm
something. Like,
hiding behind the couch with my Bible.
oh, it was so bad. I'm
Because
so sorry.
I'm pretty sure we were the only ones watching it.
Yeah, actually, no, it's
Yeah.
Steven.
And
Well-
the three of us.
The demographics in Tennessee and Florida were off the scale. They couldn't believe the ratings they were getting. Now, the reason why I recommend it is because I've seen like Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi did like Halloween shows, and those ended up being pretty good. This one was just off. This one reminded me of Geraldo Rivera when he investigated the Al Capone's vaults.
Yeah, that was bad. Well,
Really bad.
To me, it just these type of shows, it just goes to show you if you can't overproduce it, it's just going to be that bad all the time.
Well, I don't know. I disagree. I just think they dropped the ball on this one. I think it was a kind of a ridiculous idea. It was a good idea, but it was just poorly executed.
And
Yeah.
I was really expecting a person to be exercised,
And
not at home.
you're
yeah,
right.
that too.
If you would have asked me, I thought it was a person that gets exercised. I didn't know that. I knew a home could be cleansed or blessed. I didn't think a home could
They
be.
exercised
This
the house.
home has been cleansed.
Poltergeist. It was the worst. I can't
That's all
believe
that
we
was
gave them
lacking.
money. We
Yeah, that was
gave them
pretty
money.
That was bad. All right, well, it's the 2nd of November, and tonight's topic is a good one, I think. Me and Ricky had been talking about this for a while. It's did J.P. Morgan and Thomas Edison kill Nikola Tesla?
Ooh.
And, it's a gratuitous, evil sound by Tommy. This one, I'll tell you, doing the research for this case, I'm embarrassed to admit it, but this Nikola Tesla never taught in grade school, middle school, or high school level. Yeah, the only time the first time I ever heard of him was from the hair band in the 80s, Tesla. That's unfortunate, and it really embarrasses me to even admit that. But just reading up on this guy and just how far ahead of the time he was. I mean,
Yeah.
I was blown away by some of the stuff that's come out about him. What can you tell us about him, Ricky?
I agree. It's sad though. He's responsible for all of everything around us. Like AC is used everywhere, and DC's not. It's rarely ever used. It's AC's
alternating current, and direct current. Which
Right.
Thomas Edison, right, was direct current, and Tesla was
Right.
alternating current. And the difference between the two was alternator current can be transported over large areas, large distances with zero loss, whereas direct currency was pretty much a failure.
Right. Well, the problem with direct currency, it can only go less than half a mile, and Tesla came up with a way which is alternating current it can go longer distance, which I think it was like 8 to 10 miles from its the point of origin, which back then was a long way.
So would they have to have continuous like transporters or towers to continue carrying it?
Right, and the problem with that was it required a lot of electricity, and that's what the big fight was with Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. Is Edison was claiming that AC was too dangerous, people would die. Hence, that's why he executed animals and a person to show people how dangerous it was.
That's where
And that did not go well.
There's actually a YouTube video, isn't there, of like killing an elephant or something like that?
Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. It's hard to watch. I do not recommend you unless you have a taste for that stuff. But I do not recommend watching that.
But you can Google it though. Probably put in Tesla electrocutes, or not Tesla, Edison electrocutes elephant.
Right, you can.
Or you can just put the YouTube video on and look away and listen to it. It's not like the elephant yells or anything. But yeah, it was a little disturbing to see Edison's like fight to show how dangerous the AC currents were.
Yeah, I agree. He just went out of his way just to run him into the ground.
So how did these two even like come into contact? Like how where did their history begin? Edison and Nikola Tesla. Where did those guys their paths cross on the timeline?
Well, Edison was at the time he already invented numerous things, and he already had what is the name of the park that
Menlo Park,
yes,
right?
thank you. He already had that up and going, and
he was American. Tesla was from where?
Austria.
Okay, all right.
So Tesla came over and he worked as an underling for Edison. And so Edison would give him like tasks to complete, and some tasks would be impossible to complete for other people, but Tesla was able to overcome those tasks. And Tesla came up with this. There's this project that he came up with that Edison said, if you complete this project, I'll give you a whole bunch of money for a prize. Tesla completed it, and Edison didn't give him the money, and so that really made Tesla mad, and so Tesla left.
So he stiffed Tesla on
basically on that prize, yeah. And so he's like, "F that, I'm out of here."
So he was working for Edison in New Jersey.
Yes, he was working for Edison, and he was helping with the direct current situation because it couldn't go very far. And so Edison wanted Tesla to come up with an idea how to make the current situation better, not come up with a whole new idea entirely, which Tesla came up with AC, and Edison dismissed it, saying it was too dangerous.
So where does J.P. Morgan and guys like Rockefeller and those guys come into this picture?
Well, not till later on. That's when Tesla left. Tesla went. What was it? I'm trying to remember the millionaire's name. Was Wentworth, or do you remember the name? It was
Westinghouse.
Westinghouse.
Yeah.
Thank you, Westinghouse. Westinghouse found out about Tesla because he was working on one of Edison's projects. They were burying like power lines, and so one of the guys had a investor friend and told them about Tesla. So Tesla met with them, and they liked Tesla's idea of AC. And so they went into business together, and that's when the war started to happen, and that's when Edison was showing the public how dangerous AC could be.
Which war are you talking about? World War II?
No, I'm sorry, the current war, AC versus DC.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because the AC could produce so much more energy than DC, and Tesla was wanting to give that as free energy, whereas the other guys, J.P. Morgan and Edison, wanted to profit on the different levels of electricity and power and make a lot of money.
And some of the things that Tesla's actually credited with inventing, we talked about already: the alternating current, neon and fluorescent lights, X-rays, which it's the credit was given to somebody else for an X-ray. I can't remember what his name was. I think what was his William Röntgen was actually credited for the first X-ray, but it was shown that Tesla actually had that idea. Radio was another thing he's credited with, remote controls. And this was interesting: bioelectricity and biophysics, which were, he said, like an opera singer uses their voice and can shatter crystal glasses. He believed that sound vibration can be used to kill viruses and cancer cells, bacteria and yeast cells. So this guy was like
genius, super genius compared to everybody else.
Also, and you've heard this and you've probably seen this about 10,000 times if you look at those old horror movies from the 1930s, the Tesla coil is in the background, where it's just like that big beaming coil of electricity. That says that actually it's a device that generated electricity that that could be pumped directly into the environment, could be pumped into clouds to make rain. And they think a lot of countries actually grab this technology, and it's in use today. I know a lot of Americans. There's a U.S. government project called HARP that a lot of people believe is responsible for weather control by the military. That they say is responsible for most of the superstorms that you see nowadays, from hurricanes to tornadoes to tsunamis and stuff like that.
Right.
So Tesla's pretty much had his fingers in just about everything that we see and pretty much use today.
The guy was a genius.
Something very important here. He was a villain to Superman. Superman had to battle Tesla. There's an animated movie about Tesla being a mad scientist.
Nikola Tesla?
And that he was using his electricity to do bad things. Superman had to beat him up.
If you looked at the end credits for that, it said an Edison production. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh my God.
I didn't see that part, but I did see clips from the movie.
No, in all seriousness now. But yeah, you're right though. He big strides for humankind that Tesla was working on, and the big thing, Tommy, you had mentioned it earlier about Tesla wanting to put out free energy, basically using the Earth's ionosphere to pump energy into to get it circulated throughout the globe, so that people would basically have free access to free electricity and free power, which I think would kind of get the guys' attention, like J.P. Morgan, who had their vested interests in fossil fuels, kind of raise their ire to maybe shut him up. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. And what happened, I believe, was during that war, they were fighting over who was going to power Niagara Falls. With Niagara Falls, they could basically power New York and Chicago and other cities. And that's the final showdown right there.
Using the falls themselves as like an electro dam technology.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And so what happened was Westinghouse. So is that what you guys said the name of the house?
Westinghouse, right?
Westinghouse. Well, they were Tesla's royalties and patents were costing them a fortune, and they couldn't invest no longer. So that's the reason how they lost to J.P. Morgan and Edison. And so J.P. Morgan made it very hard for Nikola Tesla to get those patents off the ground.
So it's just like stories you hear about today about big oil paying off or silencing people who create alternate means of fuel. Like you hear about that guy that he developed a pill to drop it into water, it becomes gasoline. Say the big pharmacy, still big pharma, paying off their competition so that they can remain at the head of the table.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. It's basically allegedly J.P. Morgan silenced a whole bunch of people, made it so hard for Tesla to get things off the ground, and that's what caused the ultimate demise.
That's kind of depressing to know that even back then, say 100 years ago, 115 years ago, that you still had the old Goliath killing off David, in the name of profit. It's kind of disheartening to hear it's been around with us forever.
It's true. Hey, Tommy, if you were Tesla, would you have given up?
Man, I don't think so. He was onto so many great things, and with that much firepower coming your way, you have to know you're doing something right. If his stuff was bogus, you wouldn't have such big high hitters chasing after you to try to ruin you at any cost.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier to fight Big Brother nowadays than it was back then. You look at guys like Snowden. He's fighting against Big Brother by exposing their secrets. He could do that through Wikipedia or WikiLeaks and the internet and stuff like that. Whereas Tesla, it's like J.P. Morgan owned pretty much every news media outlet back then, so he could run a smear campaign and just kind of shut them down.
Yeah, that's true. I guess the media is a lot. I guess it's so much bigger than it was before.
A lot more back then than it is now, for sure. So it's kind of hard to fight that kind of power back then, especially when you're not making any money and you're kind of depending on other people to fund your projects.
So the ultimate topic here is Nikola Tesla was killed by J.P. Morgan. Can you give me a reason why you feel that way?
I don't believe he was, and I'll give you a reason why. I don't think Thomas Edison had anything to do with Nikola Tesla being killed or J.P. Morgan. I think J.P. Morgan, for obvious reasons, he wanted to preserve his own interests in fossil fuel and the empire he built, discredited Tesla to the point where he made Tesla seem like a crackpot, thus, destroying his credibility. Thomas Edison was in J.P. Morgan's, hip pocket, pretty much, would do whatever he said. So I think those two together ruined Nikola Tesla's chances for credibility. But I don't believe that they killed him.
Indirectly, you think they killed him?
No, I think they killed his reputation. But I believe in my readings too, there was an actual claim that an ex Nazi SS soldier, Tommy, what was his name?
His name was Otto Scorveni.
Okay, he was supposed to have actually been the one to strangle Nikola Tesla in New York, and so he was like credited with stealing his secrets too and bringing them back to the Third Reich during World War II in an effort to help Germany's war machine. With some of the weapons that Nikola Tesla was actually developing, one of them being a beam that could be used as a particle beam or a projector beam to be used as a weapon.
I see. Now, I do know that he died in his 80s, and he was killed 1 year in a month after World War II started. And I believe,
right, which would have been in the middle of World War II.
Right. I also believe that he just died of natural causes. I don't think he was strangled.
But they found him in his burial clothes. So I mean, for him to have died of natural causes, how did he know to get dressed? I just think that's a little weird.
So let me get this straight. Someone strangled him, felt bad, and then they dressed him in the burial garb.
Probably, yeah. It doesn't sound out. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
I would think more closely to a suicide at that point, knowing that he was going to go out and just was like, hey, I'm in my 80s. All of my work has now amounted me to nothing. And he said that, I'll be forgotten in the present, but in the future, the truth will be revealed. So
yeah, see, I agree with Tommy. I agree with Tommy.
Just decided to go ahead and end it.
Well, yeah, that's where we agree to disagree. I think he was killed, and I think he was killed by the Germans to as like a kind of a roll the dice, see what he has to because like I said, at that time Germany was kind of getting their butts kicked by the Allies, and this could have been like Hitler's last grab at like certain technologies that were maybe the German scientists were on the cusp of creating, and they needed that extra push.
Yeah, see, but he was 86. Did they really need to do anything to him? They could have just stole his files and been off.
No, but then that would have alerted people. Who knows why they did what they did? I mean, they probably could have went in with the intentions of doing that, and Nikola Tesla discovered what they were up to and tried to yell for somebody to help them. You just never know how it went down.
Okay, and just for our listeners, so you believe he was murdered, just not by J.P. Morgan, but
Correct.
by the Nazis. Okay,
right.
Just want to make sure we understand.
I like I said, I think J.P. Morgan and Thomas Edison killed his reputation, but I think the Nazi Otto was the man that actually did the deed.
And online you can find there was an actual confession by said Otto.
Right.
That they had tricked him into revealing all of his secrets and then killing him the next day.
Really? I didn't see. I never knew about that.
Yeah, and I think with it too, the confessions were kind of like take these with a grain of salt because the guy was supposedly like up there in age, and he was kind of not really in control of all his faculties either.
Yeah, but just coming across the name Nikola Tesla and confess to his murder.
No, it was like a family friend of a friend or something like that. He had confessed this and had provided like a shoebox full of pictures and documents and whatnot that proved that kind of substantiated the guy's claim.
Huh. See, I came into this thinking that he just died of old age, but now I'm actually kind of on the fence.
So you're on the fence, Tommy. Where do you stand?
I mean, I definitely think that something had to have happened. Although, because like you said, like he started saying he was having visions and all this stuff, that it's hard to say, did this guy really trick him, take his stuff and kill him, which, I mean, wouldn't be far set from Nazi behavior, I guess. But at the same time, being 86 in that time of life. There was no good modern medicine to keep someone sustainable. That who's to say that he really was, or it just said he had found him that he was personally suffocated. So it wasn't any type of trauma like he got hit or anything. He was either strangled or he suffocated in his sleep.
Now you would think too, like they'd be able to see marks on his neck if he were strangled, right?
But 86, he didn't put up much of a fight.
Well, yeah, no, 86. I mean, I think he weighed like 140 pounds too. I mean, he was a skinny guy.
Yeah, he was.
So, I mean, I don't, I've only known a few Ottos in my life, and they were all of men of, rather large size. So I would think an Otto would be able to take out a 140-pound Nikola Tesla.
I agree.
All right, welcome. Headlines to the dark side. One of my favorite topics, one of my favorite parts of the show. This week, I selected two articles that I feel will be near and dear to both you guys. Both of them have to do with zombies.
What, zombies?
Yes, real life zombies. It starts off this first
real
one.
Life. Okay.
Real life.
Okay, I'm listening.
A New Mexico man who was binge watching The Walking Dead faces murder charges after allegedly beating an acquaintance to death, claiming his friend began to, quote, change into a zombie. Officer Lieutenant Jason Frank, arrived to find two maintenance men restraining the 23-year-old Damon Perry. The victim, also 23, was pronounced dead soon after their arrival. Police said Perry noted the blockbuster zombie TV show as the impetus for these actions. He allegedly said that Paquin, who was his buddy, had been drinking, quote, large amounts of alcohol when he claims Paquin tried to bite him. Perry allegedly beat Paquin, and this is disgusting, with his hands and feet, in addition to using an electric guitar and a microwave oven.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's
pretty intense.
Left his apartment.
But I'm really hoping that was Officer James Franco.
No.
Listen.
That's where I thought you were going with that.
I don't believe so. No, this is legit, Tommy. This is not a joke.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, this is pretty bad because he said first you said acquaintance. So how well did they know each other?
Apparently not. Probably just like neighbors or whatever at the apartment complex. Probably just a couple degenerates who just like to get smashed and watch zombie movies.
That's one of my favorite things to do.
But this is like bath salts all over, except without the bath salts. I mean, the guy just flipped out large amounts of alcohol. It's like, I think, we've all seen zombies being that drunk.
And there was no drugs involved, just alcohol?
Nope, that's what they said, large amounts of alcohol.
Man, when I drink large amounts of alcohol, I get pretty sleepy, but this is obviously a false...
You get very sappy.
All right, this is neither here nor there, but let's talk about the zombie.
Okay, but yeah, so that's that one. And then on to Clemson University, where Professor Sarah Lauro has been studying the zombie phenomenon for a few years now. She's saying it's not a harmful or a random fad, but part of a historical trend that mirrors a level of cultural dissatisfaction and economic upheaval. She's basically claiming that zombie fads peak when people are unhappy. So I don't know if you've noticed or not, but the last 10 years, zombies just seem to be popping up pretty much everywhere. She focused mainly on the zombie walks where I guess people get together and they do like a 5K or a 10K, and some people are runners, some people are zombies. It said it originated in 2003 in Toronto, and the popularity has just escalated dramatically in the United States. Said it almost peaked and continued to go up in 2005. She said that coincided with the rise in dissatisfaction with people and their government. So saying mid to late 2000s also saw an uptick in overall zombie popularity, perhaps prompted in part by the release of post-apocalyptic movies, including Dawn of the Dead and 28 Days Later, as well as Walking Dead. So what do you think about that? Zombie fads, people are always talking about when the quote crap hits the fan. So they're always talking about, apocalyptic kind of meltdown.
I could see that because zombies, it's a guiltless war because when people turn, you feel no remorse killing them.
And I think it also gives like normal, everyday people who have no power somehow a sense of power because they think, like there's no rules, no limits. This is my way to shine kind of thing.
What I'd be interested in see is there 80s there was a big depression there too. I'd be interested to see if there was a lot of zombie movies that came out during that time too.
Well, that's when it started. That's when Dawn of the Dead was Day of the Dead was released. Return of the Living Day, I believe, was in the 80s. So the 80s there were quite a bit of zombie movies released.
I say maybe she has some grounds here.
See, when I first saw my first zombie movie was Dawn of the Dead. It was part of a double feature in theaters, and I wasn't depressed or anything. I didn't know anything about my government. I just thought it was cool that you could bust into a mall and pretty much take anything you wanted.
Yeah.
Looting.
Yeah,
that's
looting
the best part.
It's like
anything.
I agree.
It was a victimless there because it was like there were no store owners or anything like that, and technically they needed all this stuff for survival. So, like I said, it was a victimless crime. It was just shopping free for all.
You see, as I get older, though, it's like looting is pointless because I like to loot like a lot of electronics, and when the zombie apocalypse happens, there's going to be little to no electricity. So
this is true.
I would be miserable.
Useless toys.
You never see it. Yeah, you never see it either. I mean, Walking Dead got it, but most of these other movies that deal with zombies is like the world is ruined, but yet the mall lights are on and the AC still running. How does that work?
Well, that stuff will still work for a while, and if there's self-operating generators and backup power,
eventually,
you know someone that knows how to maintain it, then yeah, that could work for a while. But
this is true.
Unless you see like on Walking Dead where you find this self-sustaining city or like neighborhood that's all got its plumbing together and solar power, those type of things will eventually happen unless it's too big of a breakout that people can't handle it.
And that note, that'll wrap up this week's headlines from the dark side for November 2nd. Getting back to our original topic, we didn't really solve anything as far as a conspiracy theory goes, but I have just little three points of interest I'd like to throw your guys' way, because this story could have gone one of three ways. Like who was Tesla? Who was his enemies? I said number one, the Nazi Party, because of his development of military grade weapons like that particle beam. The fact that they were losing the war, they could have used his inventions. J.P. Morgan, maybe to protect his empire and prevent the release of free energy to the masses, or Edison, just simply because he wanted to see his chief rival stop dead in his tracks for his own selfish desire and his needs just to be remembered in history for his, as the one of the greatest inventors of all time. So that's where I'm leaving. I don't have any real definitive, theories based on the information that was presented this evening. What do you guys think?
I think that it's I'm on the fence, but I'm either leaning towards Nazi or natural death.
All right, Nazi or natural death, Tommy?
That's kind of where I'm at too. I'd like to think natural death, but it seems like it would be more probable for a Nazi death rather than J.P. Morgan or Thomas Edison, considering the Nazis did try to steal his, or I'm sure were successful in stealing some of his work just right before he died.
I guess we'll never know. I guess Tesla's not talking neither J.P. Morgan or Thomas Edison, so we're just left to speculate. Hey, Tommy, if people want to get in contact with us for future show ideas or questions about shows, where can they reach us?
Definitely on the interwebs. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/groupthinkcast. That's CAST, short for podcast. And also on Twitter at groupthinkcast.
And our opening credit music goes to Ricky.
The Nearly Deads. Thank you for the intro and outro music. You can find their music on iTunes.
And just to let you know that upcoming shows, next week we're going to do something near and dear to Ricky's heart. Was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle the real Jack the Ripper?
You'd be surprised.
These years later, I'm waiting. I can't wait to hear what evidence you have.
Oh yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
And then a couple of shows we're working on also after that. SETI and the possibility of life beyond our solar system. Does heaven and hell actually exist, or would that be do heaven and hell actually exist? Not sure about that. Near-death experiences, real or hallucinations, and just a ton of other stuff we got working for you guys. So once again, we appreciate you checking out Groupthink for November 2nd of 2015. And just to let you know that in the spirit of half-assed journalism, if there's a subject out there that we don't know about, rest assured we'll make it up and wing it. Have a good evening, guys.
You too.
Good night.
Good night, Tommy.
I'm I'm gonna go watch
Stay
The Exorcism
classy.
live again.
Are you really? I thought you were mad at me for
No,
that.
I
Gonna
am very
waste
mad
your
at you for
time.
that.
So
Can't
you
believe
missed.
that.
There were a couple orbs there that you now question.
Couple orbs. Listen here, Mr. Ghost Adventures. That show is awful. Okay.
I love that show. Those guys are professionals.
No, they're not.
They always catch something.
Listen, I just pulled up the Ovilus 3 on Amazon, and everybody hates it because it's a fake.
They just don't know how to use it.
What do you mean? You turn it on, and you put it in a certain area.
Oh, come on.
What's there to know? What's there to know?
There's temperatures. You gotta.
Oh,
there's a lot of different
temperatures.
variations. involved with
Temperature.
that.
Did you see what you just said?
Tommy, help me out with this.
I'm kind of with Ricky on
Yeah,
this one, dude.
if it's too humid, you obviously can't use it.
Whoa.
Anyway,
So
peace
Florida's
out.
a bad place
So
to go.
definitely can't use it in the South.
No, definitely not in the South.
Even that's where some of the most haunted places are. In
That's
the
where
South.
most of those bad reviews were coming in too.
Dude, those ghosts are way too smart for us.
Yeah, they are.
It's
Too
true.
smart. They don't like the humidity. They're
They
like
hate
old
it.
people.
Now that I'm self-aware and torn apart, do you still care? I play the victim, just an actor, putting on a show. I'm always searching for my former self, the girl you stole from me. She's waiting tables, biding time before her big debut. Here she is, now here she is. This is the first time that I'll open my mouth, but it won't be the last. No, it won't be the last. I need attention, I need the spotlight. Won't you let me in? Oh, I've been falling apart like a paper doll, right into your arms. Won't you dress me up and make me talk? I will let you in. Won't you dress me up and make me talk? I will let you in. 'Cause that's what I want. That's what I want. This peace and quiet, all this silence, this will never do. I need the chaos and the violence. I'm not keeping quiet. Oh, I've been falling apart like a paper doll. This is the first time that I'll open my mouth, but it won't be the last. No, it won't be the last. I need attention, I need a spotlight. Won't you let me in? Oh, I've been falling apart like a paper doll, right in front of you. Won't you dress me up and make me talk? I will let you